computer real quick. All right, now I can share my screen. I don't know, the button's probably there somewhere where you can still record when you're sharing, but it didn't pop up right away. All right, well, it looks like it's got a few people log on. Maybe we'll give a couple more minutes. I was hoping that Melissa would show up and give an update for District 1. She usually pops on. I tried calling her earlier, but she wasn't answering her phone.
Okay.
Looks like we got a few people here, and then yeah, what's his name was supposed to show up from
the city,
from Sung's office. Yeah, I'm trying to look for his email there. We'll see if he pops in. If not, you can just go. We had one person that for down there on Jason Street that they're redesigning their plans. And so they don't want to present this month. They're going to wait till Hunter Floyd was going to present their stuff. And he said they're having to redo stuff with the way the construction costs have changed their plans. Hey, Bill. He went dark.
Hello.
How are you? It's been a while. You're muted again. Well, we're a couple minutes after. I don't know if we're going to get more people, but as they trickle in, they can catch up. Maybe it'll be a short meeting tonight. And I just, oh, there's Pete trying to connect. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the August SUNY Land Use Committee meeting. I've got the agenda posted up here. It's kind of been a living document the last couple of days. So if you were checking it out before today, please read through it. And if you see anything in there that needs to be updated or changed, let me know. Technically, we're supposed to approve the agenda meetings. So can I get a vote to approve the tonight's agenda? Pete, I think you're the only one showing. All right, the agenda's been approved. Is there anything anybody wanted to bring up? First sort of window in session here, or part of the meeting here, is for public comment, and keep it brief. But if there's anything somebody wants to discuss, bring up at future meetings, talk about from past meetings, now's the time to pipe up. All right, we're going to move right along. Melissa's usually here to do the city council updates, so maybe we'll just rearrange it. And if she shows up, we can just slide her in here and let her give her part. I've got it queued up on the agenda. And just so everybody knows too, all these updates, all the links have been updated. So all of the items on the agenda, if you go into the SUNY public Google files, you can access all of the stuff that's on the agenda for tonight and all the past agendas as well. I wanted to give an update on that 44th Avenue walk shop. Was really the first thing on the agenda here that we've got. It was a great turnout for anybody that didn't make it. We ended up having about 35 people there, and it was a really informative. People had a lot of comments, and I've posted. Chris Parizo was so nice to put together all the comments that we collected that day, and they're actually on the link here that you can access them. And Trupti just finished up. She shared this with me. I don't know if Chris put this together or if Trupti did, but they're by sort of topic. So mobility, placemaking, policy, development. You can, as you can see, it's 3 pages of comments and feedback about what people's visions are for the 44th corridor. So if you're interested in that, please go and take a look. And and review it, because it was some great feedback from community members and business owners along the 44th corridor. So the next steps on those, they're going to take all of that, and the 44th corridor work group, I guess we're calling it, is going to be doing putting together a vision document for the corridor, taking all of the feedback and that sort of thing, and start to develop that vision document. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And if it's always open for discussion, and we're always looking for more feedback. The next item on the list is unfinished from last month's meeting. We had a vote to we had a request for a variance for a pop top addition project at 3820 Tejon Street. And I think it was unanimously approved during the meeting, and then a survey went out, and I believe it was interesting this month. They put it out on Instagram, which I don't think they'd done before, and immediately got a ton of responses. So let me look at Trippy. I think she had, it was a ton of responses. Like 70 people responded, and it was everybody but one person was in favor of us writing a letter of support for the project. So Troopy's going to put that letter together and hand it over to them so they can turn it in with their variance process. And all of those responses are there. You can kind of see people made some comments, so you can access those as well on the public drive. Like I mentioned earlier at the beginning, Hunter Floyd called me. They were originally going to have an update for their project. They're proposing for 4155 Jason Street, and he's asked to be moved to next month because they've had to re-envision due to construction costs and the financial, I guess, not really working out for the business model, and they're currently redesigning the concept for that property. So he has said that they're hoping to have something for us next month to present. But I guess the market's pretty dynamic, and so they're having to re-envision what they're doing over there. Next item is there's been some talk and discussions about going back live for these meetings, for the land use committee meetings. And we've talked about possibly streaming it from the live event, but not taking comments or questions during, from the online version, but people would be able to make comments in the chat, and then we would respond later. It's just, so what we're going to open up, and we're going to send out a survey, is to just see who's interested in maybe going back live, what type of, what format it should be in, like whether we should just be live and not have any online stuff, or if it should be a hybrid thing. And so we talk about that. What venue would be the most appropriate? There's been several places that we're looking into that we might be able to do it. For those of you who've been around for a while, you remember when they were over at the District 1 the police department over there, and there were people that didn't want to go over there. And so every place, I don't think we're going to find a place that makes everybody 100% happy, but we're trying to look for possible venues. And also up for discussion is date and times. So that'll be in that survey as well. If people have other suggestions for other days of the month they think would work better, or different times of the evening, that sort of thing. Again, I don't think we're going to make everybody happy or accommodate everybody, but we'll see what the majority of people that are interested think about doing that, returning to live. Does anybody here have any comments on or thoughts about going live?
I'd be very in favor of maybe every other meeting. I don't think they need to be hybrid, and that way people can decide which they prefer. One way to do it would be every other meeting. Another way to do it would be for you and Troop to decide which meetings need the most discussion and input, because I think that's what you're going to get in a live meeting that you don't get in this format. is a lively back and forth discussion. If you've got material you want people to be able to look at and talk about, I think the live meetings are more effective. But I don't think every meeting has to be live. It somewhat can be agenda based.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks. And I had sort of brought up the point that even the live ones, we could set up a camera on a tripod and at least record it, and then people could go watch them later on, and then that's pretty low.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I just
Um,
think the extra work of the hybrid is not required. But I think if you can record it, that's great.
Yeah, because I've been to meetings where they try to do the hybrids, and if it takes a whole other person to like manage the comment section, and then you're trying to bounce back and forth. And I think if we can just set up with like a wide angle, the camera wide enough and capture the whole thing and the sound's okay, that that would be good. So, and I like the idea of maybe other, because then we can still accommodate both types of people. Because I have heard people that like the Zoom calls too. It's convenient. They don't have to like take the extra travel time and that sort of thing.
I mean, yeah, Zoom calls are great, but they also fall short in certain instances.
Yeah,
But for a meeting that doesn't have a ton of agenda or doesn't have controversial topics, the Zoom call can work as well. I think both can be used.
perfect. Anybody else have anything to contribute? We're going to have a short meeting tonight, which I think is fine. It's been a crazy summer. Like I've been doing my Monday, first and third Mondays over there. Pete and I met this Monday. But it's just been, everybody's summers are so crazy. It seems like, I'm hoping that as we get back into fall, we start to get a little bit more people hopping on and logging in. Okay, so we'll get the survey out there for that and get some feedback, find some locations to put out there as possibilities and potentials for locations, and then start to develop what that format looks like for those that are interested. Tonight, I had on the agenda a couple of things. Another sort of follow-up discussion was the first thing where we were talking about the NPI. And we were going to focus on the industrial area for Sunnyside. And unfortunately, Soon couldn't be here, but he was going to have Fernando, his cohort it's the senior city planner. But I see he's not logged on. And I had talked to him a couple of days ago. I thought he'd be here, but it looks like he either missed it or got otherwise occupied. So if anybody has any questions about that, I've been to several of the meetings, and I don't know everything about it, but that draft is out there for the NPI, and you can go out there and take a look at where they're at, and they're still looking for recommendations. I wish I had Melissa on here because she would know the date that the comment period ends, but I think it's coming up here pretty quick, like towards the end of the month. And along those lines, the reason Pete's here tonight is because I don't know if everybody knows Pete Tavani. He owns the property. He and his family own the property, the old Standard Fence property up there at the north east corner of Sunnyside. There, really, it is the corner, and the kind of the north end of that industrial area that we're talking about along Inca. And Pete's been working really hard, and we had a discussion on Monday about what he's been working on. So I wanted him to come, and this was supposed to be paired with like sort of an update on the NPI, because Pete has put together quite a bit of stuff on two fronts. One, sort of some stuff that may or may not tie into the NPI and become part of the recommendations. It just depends, how much energy is there and what type of response. And then two, he's putting together a business alliance for Sunnyside. And I thought that would be good because we had a lot of business owners in that walk on 44th. And while the issues addressed on 44th are a little different than the issues that need to be addressed over there in the northwest or northeast area of Sunnyside, I think there's a lot of crossover as far as business owners go in the neighborhood. And the more that can be involved in an organization that supports the business in Sunnyside, I think the better. So I know it's early, Pete. I appreciate you being here. We had it on the agenda for much later on this evening, but it looks like we're going to be short. So
It's fine.
I
Fine by me.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, like, I have some of the stuff that Pete, I don't know where you want to start. If you want to start with the business alliance, or if you'd like to start with like your concepts for maybe that northeast area that you've been working on, wherever you'd like to take it. And if people have questions, they can put up their hands and we'll move from there.
Long story short, the June, whatever, the latest and greatest from the city and county of Denver, at the in part of June that came out, the 230-page document that I sent you over, it
Yes.
has on there that a business alliance needs to be created for that area. And because of that, that's what I'm doing. And it's called the Sunnyside Business Alliance. I had it at $100 a year, but it's going to be $120 a year, just $10 a month membership. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring all of the resources that we can from the city. We're putting a website together. We're going to start this weekend for the Sunnyside Business Alliance, and we're going to bring all the resources that we can that the city, state, and federal government has for our neighborhood. Because there's a lot of, because of the condition of Sunnyside being marginalized ever since it got started, there's a lot of potential funding out there. So we're going to put the website together so that people have access to those resources. It's also going to be, if you're a member with the Business Alliance, we want to hear your concerns. We want to be able to have it so that we have just one point to talk to the city and county of Denver about the issues in Sunnyside. And we can include the 44th and Tejon stuff in there. We just need people on different committees to do their part and just, don't let things fall through the cracks. And by working together, we should be able to have everyone's back. And so no one thinks that, one, people want to know what's going on, and because of the position of our property and the bridge having to go across this, that, the other, it's kind of important that I know what's going on. And so that's the reason why I will try and be as focused as I can with the issues and be able to be transparent and let everybody know what's going on and that sort of thing. So that's with that. And then to back up further, I'm an inventor. I have 8 patents with my name on it over the last 4 decades. And 2 of those patents are for a pressurized digester vessel, which is an anaerobic digester, which turns organic waste into methane and uses as biofuel. And then the nested nozzle mixer that helps the functionality of this can clean water. So in 2 different systems, we can do a lot of things. And that's the reason why I've started the Sunnyside Innovation Laboratories at the site. I had the prototype at the Boulder Wastewater Facility from September of 2018 till April 2022. And I'm in the process of getting everything hooked up and started so that we could get into our cleaning water tests. So that's the point of, because of the near Northwest plan and the need for human beings to have 4 times the infrastructure that exists today, we have a very unique opportunity to try and figure out what net zero communities are about. We have a trademark called the Energy Oasis, and we're using that, and we're going to demonstrate what the Energy Oasis is and what the innovation district, flex district is. And that's what our goal is, because we have this unique opportunity. And I'm just lucky enough that my wife and her little brother own the chunk of dirt to move it forward. So
I was trying to, sorry, Pete, I was scrolling while you were talking. I was trying to find the Sunnyside focus area. There it is there. So I just found it, which is some of the stuff. So for those of you, I got a comment here. Alan had posted that he'd like to learn more about the NPI. And I shared the link to the draft that was published in July, which is the latest draft that they're still taking public comment on. They've had several focus groups that have met in the neighborhood. And so they've gotten a lot of feedback, and you can go in there and, there's all sorts of elements. It is a pretty daunting document when you first look at it. And, it talks about, multimodal transportation, where certain districts are going to be, what type of growth is going to happen, those sort of things all through the document. And what we're sort of wanted to focus on today, and I wish we had, soon with us today, but is that industrial area, and that's where Pete's sort of talking. And I know it does tie into the 44th Avenue business folks as well. What we had, one of the comment discussions we had during that walk was the idea of forming an improvement district along 44th. And so that's one of the topics that's, I don't know if can be incorporated into what you're talking about, Pete, or if it's something separate, or, that sort of thing. So anybody that's interested can, start to hash that out with Pete and figure out the best way.
Yeah, the neighborhood can figure that out. I mean, I'm just starting this because, I'm communicating with the business owners. And so.
And I think that's a good thing to lead into, like, this, the document you sent me, Pete. Let's see this other one. So Pete's been working with an JG Architects and doing some of his own stuff, going off on stuff he feels, since he's so familiar with that corner, that he wants to see over there, and his group would potentially want to see, and how this might tie into the NPI. And so I just wanted to show this. Pete, maybe you could talk about this a little bit, about how it came about, just really briefly, because I see Melissa has hopped on now, and I want to go back and get her update from District 1. But this is a drawing that Pete and is it John?
Yeah, John Gagnon is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, had put together.
And he's the architect that did the Denver International Terminal tent building. And he's trying to figure out how we can, create energy oasis or positive energy districts. And so what he did is he took what the city and county of Denver came out with a plan in December 15th of 2022, and they had 4 concepts. And what John did is he took the concept, one of the concepts, and then he turned it into this drawing of a master plan. And this area was called out in the Blueprint Denver in the year 2000 to be a community center. And now with the latest stuff from the city and county of Denver, they want to turn it into an innovation flex district. And we're excited to help the city and county define what that is. So, yeah. And then this is John's concept. And if you want to, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make 46 a corridor going west, so that it ties
46
into
is right here. If you guys can see my mouse going across, I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah, and because of the stormwater issues and all that kind of stuff, and because of the December 15th plan, they wanted a park here at this site. And so what we're doing is we're anticipating the need for the stormwater drainage. And so John created an amphitheater, so it's like a park. And then the green part is making Inca a nice pedestrian corridor path so that people can access underneath I-70 there and go into Chaffee Park. And there's a lot of things that we're trying to do. We're trying to work with Martine, with Torino Masazo, to make sure that that Mexican landmark since the late 40s stays in that location. And we're just trying to figure out all the different dynamics of what's going on. So Uh,
Hey, could you speak a little bit on Monday? You talked about the food island, and you were talking about the fresh food and the market there as well as part
yeah,
of this concept.
yeah. Well, I mean, one of the because I've been married to my wife for 34 years, so I've been going to this site for 40, and I know that it's a food desert. And because of that, we want to, part of our stuff with the Energy Oasis is to create urban farms so people can get um, fresh produce. And the meeting that we had last Thursday, I met Bob and Andy, the guys that own the Sunnyside drug site
Is that right
at
there?
Yes,
yeah,
that's it.
Yep.
yes, yep. And how they're saying it's a 2-story building with, a basement and all that. They'd like to make it a 24-hour diner and all that kind of stuff. But my thinking is because it used to be the hub for Quig Newton, because I used to eat breakfast there before we go out and set fence. So I think we should still keep it as a hub, but make it a hub so that people get better quality produce and stuff that's not so expensive. So, I mean, this when you have 7-Elevens as your market, it's not a good sign for your neighborhood. So we're just trying to improve the neighborhood because we ought to. So
Perfect. Well, thanks, Pete. I know all this is high level. I thought it was interesting that, Pete's doing things on the side here on his own accord, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. And I thought maybe if we get it out there and tell people about it, it might excite other people that there's things going on and get more people involved. So I just wanted him to share some of this stuff. Even though this is sort of conceptual, high level, whether it'll be adopted into the NPI or not, those are things we'll have to see down the road. But
it's just a starting point, basically. I
this,
mean, like I said, I got my name on 8 patents over the last 4 decades, and I understand the design process. And John, today we were talking, and he goes, "You ought to see what I found." And I go, "What?" And he goes, because he changed it, he's organized in his office. He goes, "I got some of the first conceptual drawings of the terminal," and I'm like, "I can't wait to see them." I just like to see how it morphs and evolves. So, I
cool.
mean,
Well,
that's the fun part about inventing and designing is, solving the problem and coming up with pieces that work for everyone. So,
thanks, Pete. I appreciate it.
you're welcome,
Um,
Rod. Thank you for having me.
yeah, and if anybody wants to reach out, and talk to Pete more about it, I can just put your name in the chat and I'll make sure I connect you guys. And if you have other questions, I can get Pete to respond uh, on that side of things. Melissa, hey, I tried calling earlier just to see if you'd be here, so I apologize for bugging you on your cell phone. Uh,
I did not get a call, but I was in a dead area. I'm sorry. It's back to school night for my child, so I apologize.
oh, well, thanks for hopping on. We blew right past you on the agenda, and I've got it up here, and I'll try to follow along this time a little better than the last time. If you want to give your update,
Sure, I appreciate that. There luckily, I hate to say it, but you didn't really miss much. August has been a fairly slow month for various reasons, including the change in administration. So there's not a lot on here. As I'm sure you've talked about and you've mentioned already, we have the Near Northwest Area Plan, and we are asking people to please get involved. The time, the date that you can get involved by is August 31st.
right here at the
This will
bottom.
be for this exactly. There is multiple ways that you can get involved. So, there's surveys, you can comment directly on the document, you can talk to someone, you can view the document in person if you are more of a paper person instead of a digital person, because it can be rough to read these things online. So, that all that information is available there. There's a little information, an update on the short-term rental licenses. Talking about how the processing times have improved. So the good news is that we are permitting or I mean, licensing a record number. We're at a record high of about 87% here. And people that are renewing their licenses or applying for the first time are seeing shorter times to get that approved. So there's some information on that. Otherwise, the big thing that we are currently promoting is the town halls that we are doing with the mayor. So there is not one on there. I think this was produced prior to us.
Oh, and I have that.
Solidifying.
I actually brought that up because we went to the one over in Chaffee the other day with Amanda. Where there was, I don't think that was one of his town halls. That was more about the housing proposal that they've got. But I did put down that the one in Sunnyside, and it was going to be one of my announcements, is at the Aslan Rec Center here coming up on the 19th.
Yes, absolutely. And so it will, just to clarify, it will be more of what you saw, Rod, when you were there. This is the mayor's town hall, and he is talking primarily about his homelessness initiatives.
Yep.
And his goal to house 1,000 people by the end of the year. So, you know, he's asking people to come out and ask their questions, although the questions are not limited to homelessness. That is technically the theme. So we encourage you to come out. So we just had one again this week here at the Kirk. We'll have another one for Sloan's Lake and West Highlands at the Highland Recreation Center, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday on the 19th. I'll put some of this in the chat. And then we'll have the Sunnyside one on the 19th as well at Aslan Rec Center. That one will be at 11 o'clock. And then we'll have two more, one for Berkeley and Regis at Scheitler Rec Center on the 26th at 9 a.m. and one for our brand new Union Station neighborhood. We have a small sliver of Union Station neighborhood in District 1. So we will be partnering with Councilman Hines to do one for that neighborhood on the 26th at 11 o'clock at Union Station there at Crawford Grand Hall. So I'll put some of that information in the chat. Something that will be on our next land use slide, but I do feel like it's worth giving people a heads up now, is the sidewalk fee. So that will be, there is a new tool that you can estimate your sidewalk repair fee or your sidewalk fees that you will have. So you can enter in your address and it'll provide an estimate. And so that will be coming. So that's going to be the 2024 annual sidewalk charge. So there, you know, it's a real simple thing, just www.denvergov.org/sidewalks. And again, I'll put this in the chat. And that will show you what will be added to your stormwater bill. So, you know, we're just trying to give people plenty of time and heads up on that. That was voted by the people. Denver deserves sidewalks. And this is the result of that. So that will be in our next land use slides, but because it is of interest, I thought I'd mention it now.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, if you drop that in the chat, I'll go ahead and take all those links that you put in there and make sure I get them up on the notes.
Wonderful. But if anyone has other questions, please let me know.
Because this is all north. The rest of your packet here is near northwest stuff. It looks
correct.
Like. Yeah.
So it just, those are just, there's really, you know, we have the one public hearing for the ADU that you guys have already talked to the property owner.
Yep.
That was back in April, maybe. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, so it's been a while because we had it when we missed, and then it's.
Yes, so it was a while back, but you had him on to review his plans. So that's just a formality. And then as a reminder, we are still looking to rezone the rest of Sunnyside to allow ADUs. So that is something that is on the councilwoman's work list. And we will see, you know, CPD has offered to partner and get this through as part of the near northwest area plan. However, we are concerned that it just may take them longer. So we will see if we're going to do this ourselves. We're looking into that now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people are interested in that. Yeah, because I've been through a remapping process for one property, and it's quite challenging. It's a lot of work.
It's
So
not fun. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
not fun.
hopefully we have only a few areas in the Council District 1 that are not zoned to allow ADUs. And so we will be looking at those areas that are specifically of the urban context to see about, polling constituents and seeing if there's an interest to move forward and rezoning these as one giant batch.
Perfect. Okay, well, that was pretty sweet and simple there this month. Yeah, we were just talking about this before the meeting started, that how slow the summer has gotten with 10 people. This is like, literally, this is as most people we've had on here all summer, and we've got 9 right now. So it's this is, maybe as the fall we'll start to see people start coming back in the fall. So Melissa, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm actually going to go to that Sunnyside Mayor's Town Hall as well. I feel like that other one could have gone on. They started late, but then they still tried to stop it, at the original stop time. And I was like, wait a minute, you waited. And I felt like we could have easily had like another hour of questions there and comments. It was a pretty cool conversation. So
Yeah.
I recommend people go if you're interested in that.
We're thrilled that he is doing this right out the gate. I think it's a great way to get to know our neighborhoods and to hear from the people in Denver. So, we're excited to be a part of that. And then there is, and we'll have this information on our newsletter as well, but they're offering to take people's questions. If you can't attend and you still want to ask a question, they are promising that you can submit one online and they will respond to every person that submits a question. Yeah,
if you could, is that a link that we can get? Because at the meeting, it was like a little, this thing you scan with your phone.
It was just taking you to their general website. So give me a few seconds. I'll put this all in the chat and we'll get all that over to you guys. But yes, they have been keeping diligent notes and are making sure to respond to everyone. Depending on their flow, it may take a little bit, but they do promise to respond to literally everyone that asks a question.
Perfect. Yeah, because I saw that there at the meeting too, the little podium things that you had to scan. Okay. If anybody has any questions, for Melissa, put them in the chat there, and I'll make sure that she gets them and they can respond when they've got time. I have noticed that Fernando hopped on, and Fernando, we had a pretty speedy first part of the meeting, so we kind of just and Melissa hadn't hopped on until just a few minutes ago, so we were bouncing all over the place tonight. Pete had already given a little presentation, Pete Tavani, and I'd like to I was hoping to sort of connect the two of you guys, because he's just to rehash it a little bit. Pete's family owns the Standard Fence property up there, and I think they've had meetings with you guys about NPI, and we sort of just showed, I'll bring it right back up really quick, his conceptual idea for that Northwest thing, and the ideas that some of the business owners have there that they may want to sort of get to the NPI folks and get into the document and the suggestions and all of those sort of things. So that's why I felt this was a good sort of crossover between the two of you guys tonight, because it's all talking about the same area. What we wanted to do, and Fernando and I had a brief email back and forth about doing a high level discussion for what's going on with the NPI in that industrial area there on the east side of Sunnyside. And I don't know, Fernando, if you had put together anything other than just the NPI recommendations, like a presentation for that little section, or just wanted to give like a brief overview. I know there's a couple people in the chat who have said they want to learn more about what's going on over there. So I think we can just keep it pretty high level. There's plenty of resources to get down into the nitty gritty, but that's really what this tonight's about, is kind of keeping it high level for you. If you've got like just a high level sort of thing to give us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And nice to meet you now in person.
Yeah.
Or virtually, I guess. And good to see other people here, Bill and Melissa and everybody that's been involved. And yeah, I do have like a few slides that are very high level, and then we can spend a little bit more time on the Sunnyside recommendations. Like I wasn't sure who is familiar with it or not. So I just have some general near Northwest slides as well.
So I unshared my screen. So let's see if you can.
Yeah, let me share this real
Let's see.
quick.
Yeah, it does say all participants can share, so you should be able to.
Now it should be sharing, right?
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. And yeah, it's good to see kind of the side plan. I think Pete has definitely been in conversations, I think, with Sung and the rest of the team. I think I met Pete maybe in a meeting maybe last summer, but it's good to see kind of the idea, and I think we'll be looking forward to see how we can kind of work together on that.
That'd be great.
And yeah, I think I just have this kind of a general agenda, kind of what the plan is, what planning is, and then some overview. Sung was here last month, and I think he shared similar slides, so I wasn't sure who was here last month or not. So I'll just go over those general slides quickly, or do you want me to jump right into
and he gave like a holistic sort of really high level overview. And if you wanted to, I think what our hope was this time was to maybe like you can go ahead and skip through to ones that maybe address things that are specific to over there on the east side, that Inca and Jason, you know, those sort of industrial areas are the stuff that we're trying to, because, you know, that's one of the areas that is, you know, kind of slated for the most growth in Sunnyside, I think, as far as density and everything. So, you know, feel free to just ad lib.
Yeah, I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit and just start kind of with the timeline, I guess, kind of where we are. And just to remind people, we are here we released the draft. It's been up I think the public meeting was June 22nd or somewhere around there. And the process has been going since 2021. And then kind of the goal of this phase of the plan is to get feedback on the draft. So at the end, I'll share all the different ways we're looking for that feedback and how to get involved. And then just a general reminder of all the different elements that the plan touches and the different chapters. And then we're going to be talking a little bit more about the neighborhoods chapter, more specifically the Sunnyside one. But the general themes of the plan can be summarized in this 5 goals: support well building and access to housing, nurture great places, grow businesses and jobs, improve multimodal, and then support health and well-being. The plan also touches on equity. This is from Blueprint, the 3 equity concepts that we carried down from Blueprint Denver, the citywide plan. But then just getting more into the Sunnyside neighborhood recommendations. Like this is just a screenshot of the plan, but I think I was gonna go through them and then answer any questions I think there might be. So this is the key opportunities for in the Sunnyside neighborhood. The first one being that kind of area that you're talking about, that northeast Sunnyside industrial area, kind of that focus area. And I'll talk a little bit more in detail in the next slides about that, but other recommendations that the plan includes about Sunnyside, the rec center, the Aslan Rec Center, renovation, create those mixed-use walkable centers, mostly around the station and around a future BRT stations around 38th Avenue. There's a lot of talk about kind of the historic commercial nodes, the streetcar nodes, as well as 44th Avenue. And then just improve the connectivity along I-70, including existing crossings, but maybe thinking about a potential new crossing to the north. Improve 46th Avenue more as a contemporary parkway, which that can mean a lot of different elements, but creating a space that it's more pedestrian. Maybe it has more green elements, as well as kind of maybe historic references. And then just some general recommendations that we are seeing in all the neighborhoods as completing the sidewalk network, similar to what Melissa was talking about. Maybe that's more in short term. This is as still a recommendation for the long term, provide more housing options. That also references kind of the ADUs that are missing, or the areas that are missing an ADU being allowed, and then just stabilize residents at risk of involuntary displacement, which has been a theme throughout the different neighborhoods for sure. And then I just wanted to focus a little bit more on this kind of diagram, and then just starting with the vision. And apologize if this is too small, but I think there's different elements that kind of talk to this vision, starting kind of with supporting the existing industrial businesses, establish that an innovation district that maybe can help grow this area while retaining some of that innovation, support the construction of affordable housing in the area, as well as encouraging kind of that human scale mixed use design, and kind of incorporating that park space, especially I think in this unnamed park here along Pecos, and then strengthening the pedestrian environment and bicycle connections around the area. So those were kind of the guiding principles for the recommendation for this specific focus area. And then the recommendations that we have that relate to that vision talk more about kind of that preservation of industrial uses that exist today, while promoting opportunities for other innovation jobs, and to mitigate kind of involuntary displacement of those longstanding businesses. And then this will reference back to other high-level policies along the plan. As I said, kind of the enhancing existing parks, and then just some design elements such as the gateways, maybe at this kind of node at 46 and Pecos, creating some local center around there with higher mixed use, higher residential area along Pecos as well. And then I think the provide safe, accessible ways to get around, so just mobility improvements throughout bicycle and pedestrian. The mixed use centers, mostly focusing them around the 31st and Fox Station, and the other area being this kind of center along Pecos and 46, but that we're classifying it more as a local center, so smaller in scale, maybe more local uses rather than the one closer to the station. And then partnering with a DHA for the redevelopment of Quig Newton. There's been conversations with them also to increase the density while providing more affordable housing. And then increasing residential development along kind of Inca Street, more along that bigger mixed use node of the station. And then the transformative project for this area is the renovation or expansion of the Ashland Rec Center. So it's like a mix of different recommendations to kind of work with this vision element. And we can talk more about the details, but before we kind of get into that, just wanted to provide kind of some general understanding of what we're hearing. We recently had a focus group with property owners. I was not there, maybe Bill was there, but this is kind of the summary that I got as a debrief. So my understanding is that there is no major concerns on mobility and quality of life recommendations. And there's a general agreement for this area to be a long-term opportunity for growth, but that we need to be very careful in terms of preemptively impacting businesses that result in involuntary displacement. And the concerns that were expressed is that some businesses wish to remain and would need support, while other businesses would like some flexibility to redevelop in the future. And there were conversations about the height guidance in the area. Right now, the recommendation is 3 stories, but there were some opinions that maybe 3 stories was too limiting to achieve that long-term vision, while maybe some other opinions of 5 stories that might encourage a more rapid change. So I think where the conversation was directed is there's different catalytic projects or changes that could happen on the area. One being the bridge at 47, Quick Newton redevelopment, or a large employers moving out. So if any of these elements happen, kind of the recommendation that if any of this happens, that the city should revisit this area and conduct some small area plan to see how maybe this mix of uses could happen in a better way. And other conversation topics were kind of impacts on infrastructure brought on by density, as well as maybe impacts from special districts, as well as kind of property taxes into the property and business owners, therefore. So this is kind of the overall and overview of where the conversation around this area is going. But I'm happy to have a conversation about specific areas or some questions that people might have.
Thanks, Fernando. Does anybody else have any questions?
I'll add just a little bit of color because the meeting was, I'm not sure the right way to describe it, but there is a lot of concern about this idea of catalytic projects and specifically about Dawn Foods. A lot of it was coming from landowners and their concerns with what that meant in terms of the zoning for their properties. And I would add that there was also some side comments about the fact that this is kind of a way of punting on the planning for this area, to basically set it aside and say, you know, because of Dawn Foods, because of the 47th Avenue Bridge, because of Quick Newton, we're not going to really dive in and get the work done. So I think this whole catalytic projects, and most specifically Dawn Foods, was a very controversial topic. So
I'd agree with you, Bill. I was in on that meeting, and I'd agree with you.
So were there any conversations about what to do to further those discussions and actions on, or is it still sort of left as in limbo?
it was left that the city was going to take in the discussions and likely have another meeting, was my impression of the follow-up.
Okay.
And that's why we're starting the Sunnyside Business Alliance. It's because we need to. So.
Was that a meeting that was set date or nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
No,
just sort of down the road. So still that's in limbo as well. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Fernando, Pete had sent something over earlier that was like, I think, abbreviated version of the whole packet, and in it had 2 refined ideas for the for that area. Originally, we had like 4 concepts that were put out there in the NPI. Is it whittled down to just sort of 2 concepts now, based on all the feedback that you guys have been getting, or is there still 4 sort of scenarios going out there? I didn't know if Pete's the package was inclusive with the original 4 scenarios.
Well, that's what we based that's what John based the Sunnyside master plan. His Sunnyside master plan was one of those 4. And then at the end of June, that's when the city sent us that new document that Fernando shared with us for that area, what they would like to see and do in the direction they want to go. So that's where we are with their information.
Well, and I just that 3D view that Fernando showed in his presentation just now.
That is the singular. There are no multiples. That is
that's the singular one. And just you know, I think everybody that's speaking is pretty familiar with this, but I can tell from experience with my clients that when you're used to looking at like a plan for a little while, then you see a 3D view. Just for everyone that's on here that may not be used to looking at architectural drawings or 3D renderings and stuff like that, this is looking at Sunnyside basically as if you're hovering over I-70 looking kind of towards the southeast, and you can see the railroad tracks there just as a small dashed line. And we all think of the railroad tracks as huge, and it sort of you know, the first time I looked at this, I had to sort of like orient myself to which way this was looking. So you can kind of see like, so the property that Pete's family owns is up there in the top left corner of that there, and you can see that little dashed line that indicates where that bridge would be at 47th. So, you know, so much of these conversations have been looking at site plans, like straight down with north arrow pointing north, and then I was like, oh, they panned around. It takes a second to reorient yourself.
They did.
And so anyway, okay, so we're down to basically this. This is sort of the fruition of all of the suggestions from those four.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I think
Go ahead, Fernando. No, go ahead, Fernando.
Yeah, I think through the process, there were different iterations kind of on the previous phase, trying to kind of figure out how to better advance this vision with all the different interests. And I think this was the kind of the resulting a preferred alternative, to put it that way, like the one that kind of achieved this vision better.
Yeah.
I would resist the word preferred and say this is what came out of the blender after city planning and the consultants took what they heard in the multiple meetings.
That's correct, Bill. It's
more
the mixed up result. Yep.
So and again, the idea behind this is to try to get as many people engaged in this as we possibly can. And as Melissa reiterated in her thing, you know, the public comment does close the end of this month, which is Thursday, the 31st. So if anybody has any questions, you know, reach out to that comment link. And, you know, I'll repost that again in tonight's notes so that we can get as many people that are interested in the neighborhood, you know, getting involved and getting those ideas, because when they cut that off, there'll be less of an opportunity or no opportunity to sort of, you know, get ideas over to them after that.
Yeah, and I can elaborate a little bit on that. I think, as I said, we're kind of in this space that the comment period will close kind of at the end of the month. And then we'll get all that input and incorporate it into the plan to release kind of a second draft, and then go through the adoption process with the kind of goal of adopting the plan end of 2023, maybe beginning of 2024. And then just ways to get involved. I think we talked about that community meeting we had. You can comment directly on the plan. I think maybe that's the link that Melissa had shared before. There's an online survey, which is like a shorter, more digestible version of the plan goals. And there's a form to provide just general comments if you just want to type in your thoughts and send it to us. And then we've been having different like pop-up events. Tomorrow there's one at a coffee shop, I think 21 in, I think it's on the next slide. And this is kind of the plan where you can, I don't know if you guys have used it before, but you can just put in select where you want to type a comment and leave a comment directly on kind of the PDF of the plan.
Oh, nice.
Here I have, that's and you can see other people's comments too, so you can kind of like comments or dislike, kind of more of a kind of social conversation. And then if you guys want to scan this will take you directly kind of to our survey. But I'll leave it up for a little bit if anybody wants to scan it, but that's kind of a 5-minute survey with the kind of high level goals.
Fernando, would you email me this PDF and I'll make sure that we may have a copy of this if this is the same one that Sung had from last time, but if you'd email it to me, I'll make sure this gets dropped into today's folder as well, so people could have access to this. And if they want to scan that thing later, they can.
Sure, I'll send it after this
That'd be
meeting.
great.
And
Thank
then
you.
this is kind of the part on our website where all the different ways to get involved are. And then in terms of like community pop-up events, as I said, tomorrow, 2914, that's a coffee shop. We'll be kind of setting up there for anybody that wants to talk more in depth about anything or ask questions. And then we'll also be at the Skyline Festival on Saturday, if anybody wants to stop.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I think it'll be a fun event, so I'll be there.
Nice. Well, that's perfect. You have an event tomorrow. So anybody that's interested and it's fresh on your mind, you can go tomorrow from 9:30 to 11:30. So perfect. Thank you. Does anybody else have any further questions for Fernando while we have him here? All right. Well, thank you so much, Fernando. I really appreciate you coming. Every time I get one of you guys and I speak to you, I get one little more tidbit of understanding of this, because it is a complex document, and there's a lot going on there. And it's nice to sort of get a little further clarity each time. And Bill, thanks for your feedback and being at all those meetings, because it's, good to get sort of other perspectives as well.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think Bill too, as I said, I wasn't on that meeting myself, so it was more of a download of conversation. So thanks for chiming in there, Bill.
Yep.
Thanks
again.
I'll send this after the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, we're blowing right through tonight, guys. We had a couple people drop off, so we didn't have to deal with it, and we moved through everything pretty fast. Are there any other things that somebody would like to bring up or talk about? Because we do have some time if you want to. Otherwise, I'll start to go through some of the updates or just announcements that I've got, that and we can wrap things up a little early tonight. No, everybody's silent, even Bill. Come on, Bill, you got to have something you want to talk about.
Even Bill?
Even Bill's always got something to talk about. Well, I'll just wrap up then, and then like I said, post stuff. I've got the chat here. I'll make sure I respond to everybody, and I've already shared some suggestions, and I'll make sure I respond to some of the other comments. But to wrap up tonight, I just had a couple of announcements, and the first one we've already talked about with Melissa was that next Sunnyside Neighborhood Town Hall at Aslan Rec Center with the mayor. That'll be at 11 o'clock from 11 to noon on the 19th. Like I said, the last one, they did get started a little bit late, and I felt like they should have moved the end time, but they didn't. So there's lots, hopefully they get started on time and you get the opportunity, and there's lots of time for questions, because I feel like it was a pretty engaging topic. And as the evening went on, a lot of people started speaking up, and there was a lot of great back and forth. So
I hope the rec center's big enough.
Yeah, because there were a lot of people up there in Chaffee Park. I mean, that place was at the dance hall. There were people in the balcony even. So it was, the rec center is not going to hold that many people if they show up. I don't think that room there is there. So get there early so you can get front row. And then the only other announcement I had is next month's meeting is tentatively going to be, will be held on the 14th of September. But like I announced earlier, and if you hopped on a little late tonight, we are going to start having conversations about going back live with at least some of these meetings. Bill suggested earlier tonight, and I think it's a good comment I took down. Maybe every other meeting is live, and every other, opposite ones are still online, so we can accommodate both people's preferences. But we're going to be sending out a questionnaire to get feedback, as well as looking at different venues where we could host them. That are, the problem with some venues is we have to work around other people's schedules, and we want to make sure we're consistent. So we're trying to find a venue where we can stay, consistent from month to month and get into people's routine. So with nothing else, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. We've been pretty informal here. I'm sorry, what's that?
What concerns, what concerns do people have?
Whoever is that speaking, is that Pete? You're breaking up.
That is not me.
Oh, it's Bill. No, Bill froze.
Have
I think you froze, Bill. We couldn't hear you. No. Oh, he said no problem in the chat. So, so it must not have been pressing. So I will get that out there. Thanks again for everybody. And Jasper, we did get your, I know you hopped on late there, but we did get, it was unanimous. There was one person that made that was opposed in the survey, but like 35 for writing the letter of support. So Trupti is putting that together for you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for everyone who participated and took the survey. Thank you.
All righty. Well, with that, I think we will adjourn, and feel free to email us if anybody has any other questions, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody again next month.
Thank you,
Sounds
everyone.
good, Rod. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Rod.
much.
Quiet group tonight. All right.
Thanks, Rod.
All right. See you guys. All right. We'll talk to you later.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.